Welcome back everybody to WCS America Premier League round of 32 Group B action as we are getting ready to jump into our second series of the day, which is going to be between the Korean Zerg NesTea and our Chinese Protoss player Jim.
Hey man, I'm still thinking about that last match. Really impressed. I looked at this group, I'm like, Igas, I love you, I root for Root, I'm a fan of Terran, but Alicia just has so much good results in the last few months, especially in WCS America. I really didn't have too many high hopes for him, but really knocked my expectations just out the window with his just good macro and just building up. Like, he just got tiny little advantages with his build orders that I didn't really expect out of a player like him, and it's been cool. Really impressive.
He had a very cool and steady approach to the matchup as well. Always getting the Ghost Academy, often getting his second starport as well. Didn't really feel like he felt he was rushed into things. Didn't really show impatient play. Definitely just took his time, went for his builds, and he executed it well. However, he's not there yet. He's going to have to go up against the winner of our next series. The first map is going to be played on Merry-Go-Round once more. And this should be a really fun one. Like I said, it's a little bit of a rematch of 2013 when they went up against each other. Back then, Jim was nowhere near as well known as he currently is. That just makes it extra fun for us, Nate.
That's right. That's right. An interesting map where we've seen many aggressive plays from Jim Merry-Go-Round, and he is here representing Invictus Gaming in the top left. It's Jim.
Jim. All lowercase, no space, gray face.
Damn straight. And in the top right position, we have a red Zerg player. He's with the GM agency. It is NesTea.
Now, NesTea has shown us a lot of crazy openings in the past as well against Protoss. He's been all over the board. Lately, it feels like it's a little more standard again. Definitely is a very big fan in switching into Mutalisk. We've seen him do that multiple times in WCS America Season 2 Premier League. Jim, on the other end, on this map, I'd be very shocked, Nate, if we don't see Jim go for one of his trademark 2-base plays. And I'm kind of expecting the one where he gets 2 Immortals out super quickly, but then just mostly wipes in Zealots. He's done that build multiple times and he seems to really love it. And he's aiming for a cannon opening over here. So he's even going to go send out 2 probes at the same time. Will NesTea go for Hedge first? Yes, he will.
Oh boy. Oh dearie me, Roddy. We are gonna have some cannon shenaniganery in this first game. The party hat drone's gonna become a hatchery now.
I wish, like, when this hatchery is morphing, that the party drone will leave his head behind, or like on top of the.
You know, share your hats. If you're not gonna use it, if you're gonna become a non-sentient being, you might as well give your hat to someone.
Now, NesTea is going to see this probe, and I'm very curious about Jim's approach. Where is he gonna drop the pylons? He's gonna go behind the mineral line. Yes, it is. First pylon being wiped in. NesTea, what is your answer going to be? Just 2 drones for now, Nate. I have the feeling that he doesn't really take this serious yet.
No.
I have the feeling that
the other probe is coming here too, so he might pull some like weird Galsy level architecture building now.
Nah, it's also like just a backup, you know. Once you start wiping in a lot of cannons, you want to make damn sure that you don't have a single probe. Like, your entire game is going to rely on this cannon rush if you really start investing into it. So you want to make sure it doesn't all rely on a single probe that can get stuck and then suddenly you lose. Now NesTea is really going to pull the boys. And this is going to be really interesting. 3 cannons go down. 1 more pylon over here can really complicate things. Up. Probe micro. I feel this is good for Jim. I think eventually, Nate, one of these cannons is going to finish up. The spawning pool is still not done. I think if I was NesTea, I'd probably cancel this hatchery. He's going to let it finish. I find it very ballsy. Well, actually, so far it looks okay for him. But
okay cancel timing on some of these cannons, but he's got one that's going to finish with drones hugging it. And of course, takes 3 shots to kill a drone, so that cannon doesn't really get too much for him. He is really committing to this.
Now there are 2 cannons finishing up, though. This cannon is probably going to survive with at least 4 or 5 shots. 3, 4. And I think especially this other cannon should be able to kill a lot of drones. But a lot of drones will fall. Oh, Jim's even going to get the gateway.
He's going full Maximus Black on this.
In control somewhere out there is very proud. He even trapped a couple of drones. That's the sickest gateway weapon. However, does Jim have a cannon at home? Uh-oh, Jim. Okay, NesTea only has 8 drones remaining, so it was safe to say that this was a very big investment. Will Jim get the wall off in time? I think he will. Up.
Oh, man.
There's a lot of Zerglings making their way across the map. Jim. Oh.
His wall.
This pylon might die, though.
Yeah, very low health. The cannon's going to finish up, though, and that 2 shots Zerglings, so he's okay. He's okay for now, and he's denied that natural. Wow.
Maybe Jim maybe NesTea can suicide on this pylon. It's just a single pylon powering 3 cannons.
Yeah, but
Or a queen from the high ground can shoot at this pylon probably, or
no, not
this
the
cannon.
pylon. The cannons maybe, but even that's still gonna take a while. Does he? He does have.
Does he have a
now.
range? You think a queen from here can it shoot at the only cannon that's working on the hatchery?
Maybe. Oh, that's a really tough call. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
5 range is good. 5 range is not that good.
He's gonna try, but most likely this hatch is going to fall.
Yeah. No, he's just gonna get to
I
work
think he,
one by one.
look at the range where he's shooting at the.
I think he still would have lost the cannon anyway, though.
The hatch unit.
I mean, the hatchery.
No worries. All right, so very good opening for Jim here. He got himself in a very good economic position. What do you do now if you're NesTea? Some of you guys may wonder. Well, I'm not exactly sure. I think there are a lot of different Zerg answers out there. None of them which are very good, but hey, desperate times call for desperate measures. You can try to go rush up to layer and go for some sort of a Nidus play. You can also go for one base Muda, even though none of those things is very, very good. You can also still try to turn it into a normal game, I would say, between brackets, but you're going to be pretty far behind economically, and it's going to be really hard to deal with a very strong 2-base attack from Jim.
Yeah, this has been just a very interesting opening to this series, as Jim is mining, producing 2 probes at a time, before NesTea has even completed his natural, if you can call it a natural, this abomination of a natural expansion.
Yeah, natural, that's on the other round. Support drone. I would love
He's
to
the
see
ugly duckling base.
Maybe there was like a party head inside his hatchery now.
Imagine if they changed like that little, you can see it like swimming around in this inside of the hatch building.
Ooh, what's the
hat
queen
was
doing?
there.
Why is the queen taking... Oh, the queen is going to make his way over towards this hatchery. Alright, that makes a little bit of sense. And now he's going to use the other queen. I think he could have worked on this first cannon, but probably we still wouldn't have saved the hatch in time.
Yeah.
But maybe with the Zerglings and the queen, we're going to have we were about to find out if this one queen will be able to range or reach that other cannon. I think it will. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, I'm starting to believe.
He's not even going to try. Just going to use, so we still don't know. Damn it, NesTea! Why couldn't you just answer our questions? 3 more gateways are going down in the main base of Jim. Actually, it's going to be 4 more gateways. So he's just going to go for some good old 5 gate plus 1, maybe 6 or 7 gates soon. Then we have number 6. I would like to see 1 more because you can. There you go. Maybe even 1 more. 8 gate plus 1. 7 gates. Yay! 8 gates it is.
And an Overlord immediately walks in and scouts the majority of them.
So the only thing that NesTea can do now is try to fire up Burrow, because you don't need lay attack for Burrow, and just squeeze out as many roaches as you possibly can, and then just somehow try to hang in there. But of course, you know, there's no creep connecting the main base to this new base.
I feel like after that cannon rush, like this push should actually be unholdable for NesTea. Like, I'd be so blown away if Jim didn't kill him with this attack.
At the end of the day, it's just gateway units, and you know what roaches can do to gateway units. I don't really understand that NesTea is going to fire up +1 missile attacks, because this game will most likely be over within 160 seconds or not. There is a robotics facility as a follow-up for Jim as well, which I think is just for reinforcements, a warp prism, an observer, you know, stuff like that makes sense. So he doesn't have to rely on these pylons that he's going to build in the middle of the map in case they get sniped by reinforcements. NesTea's roach count is going up though, Nate. If he would have fired up Burrow, okay, he's still going to have an observer anyway, but I would have liked Burrow more than +1 missile attacks. I would like to see roach speed, maybe cancel missile attacks now and go for roach speed, which I also still feel is going to be better and will also be done at the same time.
Yeah, it's possible. The first, well, I guess the second pylon getting placed close.
Oh,
Those force fields aren't bad.
Not at all.
Gonna lock those roaches in, and these zealots getting in, taking some damage. Sentries are very healthy. And man, 7 gate +1 though, he has so much reinforcement capabilities.
Yeah. This is going to be it's 8 gate +1 even. It's going to be very difficult for NesTea. Like, he really had to somehow babysit those roaches. But the force fields were good by Jim. Jim is definitely a master when it comes to builds like this. He has done them so many times against Zerg players, and he seems to always get away with it, especially after putting himself economically ahead in the first series of the day. So GG is called, and Jim will win map number 1 on merry-go-round.
Not really surprised. Jim has shown a lot of sharp 2-base builds on that map, but I guess it goes without saying that if you go hatchery first and you get cannon rushed, things are gonna get ugly.
Yep, just a good counter rush there by Jim. It got a little close in the end, but that gateway was definitely a very nice way to finish things off. I think the coolest thing about that gateway was that he even trapped 2 drones. Like,
Yeah.
I have never seen that, like SimCity actually working like that.
I was gonna say, like, I've seen Maximus, that's why I had to say it, but he would have let the gate finish, and then he would have built his cybernetics core there too. So a little bit different.
They were just 4 gate out of 1 base.
He had 4 gate out of NesTea's natural.
But I think if he would have let it finish, and he would let the Cybercore being wiped in there as well, then he would have died against the Zergling counterattack at home.
Yeah, well, that's probably why Jim is in WCS.
Anyways, the second map is going to be played on Deadwing. I definitely think that NesTea has what it takes to come back. He actually declined the lobby invitation. He's like, you know what? That's enough. I've had enough of Protoss. I've been counter rushed for 4 years straight now in this game. I'm going to take a break. So, yeah, there's really not too much else that we can add when you think about that game. It's just a pretty solid opening by Jim. He punishes the greed of NesTea. If NesTea would have opened up with a 15 pool, we would have been looking at a completely different game. Then I still think Jim is going to go for a 2-base attack, but most likely NesTea is going to have a much better economy to work with. The only thing I really didn't like was +1 missile attacks, because you have to you have to think like, okay, what is my opponent going to do? Well, he scouted all the gateways already, and often when a Protoss does a lot of damage with a cannon rush, they want to keep it simple, so they want to finish the game on 2 bases, and going for an upgrade that takes so long to research, that this doesn't really add up.
No, you just don't have time.
And even if +1 missile attacks finish, like, is that really going to be the game saver?
If I have 6 roaches with +1,
Yeah.
or 9 roaches with no upgrades.
Definitely would have preferred to see NesTea skip that upgrade, but it would have been really hard for him regardless, because of course he didn't have the economy to work with, he didn't have the creep spread to work with that he would normally have, and above all, he was still only on 2 hatcheries, so it's not like he had 3 hatchery production. It would have been very, very, very difficult regardless.
All right, so we're just getting the lobby set up. Deadwing, how do you like it, PvZ? What do you think about Jim's style on Deadwing? Does he have? Is Jim gonna play a macro game on this map? Or?
Jim can definitely play a very passive style. Like, we know that he loves to be passive against Terran, and I also think that he has what it takes to be passive against Zerg. I've seen him do it in the past a lot. Of course, you know, he did go up against Solar in the Intoxic Master semifinal, and that didn't go very well for him. But Solar is, I would say, is on a different level than NesTea right now. Like, Solar is without a doubt. You know, one of those absolute monster Zergs out there. And, you know, NesTea has his ups and his downs in this phase of his StarCraft 2 career. Every now and then, like I said, he still shows us some sparks of brilliance, but it's not the 2010, 2011 NesTea.
No, not quite. Hasn't quite had the big success that he's been looking for, though he has done reasonably well in WCS. He's been showing up. He's been winning reasonable numbers of games, breaking into the round of 16.
Yeah. You know, 2-3 times, I believe already. 3 times, I think, in total that he made it to the round 16 in all 6 seasons. So it's not all that bad, and he's still qualifying. So you're still picking up the paychecks. But, you know, if you look at the 32 players that we have in WCS America, NesTea is not one of those guys that you're like, man, I think NesTea is going to take it this season. That it would be a fantastic story, and I would really dig it. You know, even though you're a Terran, I'm a Protoss, I think both of us would lose our minds.
Yeah, and a sick NesTea run would be one for the ages.
Yeah, that would be truly beautiful, but it's just not super likely to happen. Either way, game number 2 is almost live. NesTea just took a break, perhaps on a smoke break, as he often does that. It's like Hero, NesTea, Oz, the little crew. Always needs a few minutes between their games. You asked me about Deadwing. I don't really have too much to add about Deadwing. I think it's we've seen some interesting games on it. I have not played a whole lot of games on it myself yet. Gonna have a few here and there. I think it's tricky, but it is very easy to get 3 bases, and I think this, out of all the maps, this is the easiest Protoss map to actually get 4 bases. And, you know, people often say 3-base Protoss is all you need. I feel 3-base Protoss is enough to get all your infrastructure, all your upgrades, get the economy, and get maxed out on the army that you want. However, you can take 1 bad fight and maybe you can like half remax, but that's about it. A 4-base Protoss, however, can truly do whatever they want. They can get Phoenix, range, fleet beacon, and all the good stuff, storms. So, you know, if you make it to that phase in the game, I think it's always an okay map for Protoss, because having access to 4 bases as easy as you have access to 3, that is a pretty beautiful thing if you're a Protoss player.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how passive Jim plays this game now, because as you said, he's a very good macro player. He's not one of those guys that can only do the aggressive tricks, you know? And I think that's probably obviously one of the stronger points of Jim is
Yeah.
that he does make him a little bit harder to read. He can play the late game about as good as anybody else out there.
No, I couldn't agree more with you, Nate. It's one of the most important things in Protoss with Zerg that you're not too predictable. As long as you have a wide variety of builds, it's a hell for a Zerg player to go up against a Protoss that can do everything. And that's why we're always so impressed when we watch the Liquid Hero play. And, you know, he shows us in a best of 5 3 completely different, unrelated build orders. And that's the kind of stuff that you want to see. And I think that's the kind of stuff that Jim can bring to the table as well. Either way, as you guys can see, it took a little longer than expected, but we are still loaded into Deathwing in a second series of the day. In former Incredible Miracles, NesTea. Now just NesTea is our red Zerg on the right top side of the map, representing the GEM agency. It's gonna be really hard to get over this IM thing, Nate. The feels.
Yeah.
Too many of them. Wow, this is a
legend of a legacy. Is he gonna go Nexus first, Forge, or?
could still be a Forge as well. I kind of feel if you want to drop your first pilot on the low ground, then most of the time it is going to be a Forge.
I've heard there are some good cannon
But he
rushes on this map.
He didn't scout yet, so that's
Yeah. Well, you do know. I mean, since the last, since this map was changed, since Challenger, it's been changed. You know that your opponent always spawns on the opposite side of the map. You can't spawn horizontal anymore. No super close spawns. He's gonna be in one of those two, but with since he hasn't rallied a probe out yet, I guess it's gonna be Nexus first.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be Nexus first, and I wonder if it's going to be Nexus first into Gate or Nexus first into Forge. Nexus first into Gate would set himself up for a pretty strong 2-base timing, like the way we know that Jim likes to do it. He doesn't really care how his opponents open up. NesTea is showing us no signs of fear, and despite being cannon rushed on merry-go-round, he's just gonna go hatchery before pool once more. If he really wants to show no fear, Nate, he's gonna go double hatchery before spawning pool. That would just be gnarly, wouldn't it?
That'd be pretty crazy. But I mean, hey, if you think a Protoss might go for a Nexus first on this map,
Yeah, it's going to be the Forge follow-up. So if it's
I mean, he wouldn't Oz this, would he?
NesTea.
Was it Oz that did this?
Yep.
Like that he went Nexus first and then he cannon rushed anyway?
It could have been also. It's one of those moments where I don't really remember it either, but I think it's going to be one more. Yeah, it
It's
is.
a double hatch before spawning pool.
It is
he
a
actually
double.
could cannon rush him, even though he went Nexus first.
Jim can easily cannon rush this.
Oh, Jim. Do it.
Jim is gonna try to do it. The spawning pool is just now being warped in. Did NesTea even see this probe, by the way, Nate? He doesn't have a drone on the low ground.
He's already got another probe. He's gonna double cannon rush? No. Oh man.
Why not?
Aw,
Two
man.
is better than one, Nate.
These two party probes, man. These guys are saying now
right.
NesTea's like, oh, this is awkward.
Alright, well, that's going to be very hard to get in range of this cannon. Of course, Jim can always try to get 1 or 2 more cannons. Wants to make sure that they will go up. What is NesTea's response going to be? Is probably just going to use all of his lava into Zerglings, but this cannonade, I don't think he's ever going to
going
reach
up
it.
by the third, too.
Oh, God. NesTea is going to check for it, though, I think.
Yeah,
Look at
he
this
should. He should.
With the party drone.
It's like, where the party at? Oh, there's the probe.
Well,
Now I
actually, he
see.
just wants to mine. It could still happen. You don't want it to happen, but it
No.
could still happen, Nate.
Oh, my God. Oh, God.
Oh, he left an opening. Now he can actually warp in a pylon over here. I think if Jim gets a pylon over here.
Oh, my God, these probes, man. Oh, jeez.
Oh,
He can't kill those cannons
my.
now.
I actually think this is going to be it. This is so incredibly hard to break now for NesTea. He's going to try to get a spine crawler up. He has a lot of Zerglings. Zerglings do quite a bit of damage on cannons. But Jim has enough money to warp in another building over here just to protect his other cannon. He didn't cancel. It's a small mistake there by Jim, but 2 cannons. Will 2 cannons be enough? Will they have enough DPS to take out this hatchery as well? The hatchery in the natural. Wow, Jim let a few too many cannons finish over here.
He's got cannons for days.
Okay, Queen is taking a lot of
Queen,
damage,
run.
NesTea.
Run for your life. Okay, can you work on this pylon? No, no, he can't. The Queen has to back off.
Okay, so he's going to bring the spine crawler, he's going to bring the Zerglings. He has a lot of Zerglings though. If Jim would have had 1 more building over here, Nate, which he had the money for, I think that he would have killed this hatchery as well. But I think this time now
The
the
spine
Zerglings...
crawler is going to get killed.
Yeah. It's gonna work
Focuses
in
the pylon.
It's okay, he's going to get it. He will save this hatchery. Which I really don't think would have happened if there would have been 1 more pylon over here.
Yeah.
Regardless, pretty good opening again for Jim. He's going to be a 2-base Protoss against a 2-base Zerg. He's already ahead by 8 workers. This pylon is pretty well protected, by the way.
Yeah, you're not getting on top of that anytime soon.
Maybe a queen from here.
No way Queen could get it. He'd need to use like I don't even think a spine could because he'd be too close.
Well,
to
if
it.
he has 2 queens, he can just like start working on it and then micro them back, transfuse a little bit.
Not quite stalkers, but I can get behind it.
Anyways, 2 extractors going down now in the main base for NesTea. NesTea obviously not very pleased with how this game has went so far. Jim on the other end is feeling very solid with his defensive cannon over here as well. His Cybercore is about to finish up. And then I really wonder what the follow-up is going to be, Nate. He can take this in so many ways. I don't think any of them is the wrong one. A very quick robo, I mean quick under the circumstances of the 7 cannons that we saw go up, is an option. He changes his mind for now. Wants to get a quick mothership core instead.
Yeah. He's going to take the rest of his gas as well. These Zerglings are nibbling away on the back rocks, but even these Zerglings should not be able to do too much.
I'm very... Jim's actually going to wipe in a cannon over here, which I'm very surprised by, because this mothership core would have been out in time to just usher these Zerglings away. And he's getting a lot of defensive cannons. Of course, you can say, you know, you'd rather be safe than sorry. He's up 1-0 already. He knows that he's in an okay position. Why not get the cannon? But I just don't really think it adds a whole lot, and it's a small waste of minerals. He wanted to get a Robonate, and now he's changed his mind.
Yeah, this is interesting. He's getting just +1. You think he's going to do the +1 gateway attack?
Like, you could, of course, I'm sure that a lot of people at home are already thinking like, oh, he's just going to research wipe gate technology, 7 gates, and wipe in a lot of units on this pilot, and that is an option. But that can also truly backfire, because he's going to be surrounded by creep. There are roaches on the way already. I actually think that NesTea would be able to defend that, as crazy as that sounds, Nate. But I think if Jim would wipe in a bunch of units at this pylon, I think NesTea is going to be able to hold. So I think the robo approach was a lot better. If I was Jim, I'd just go up to 3 bases. Yeah, I think that's the best thing. That's actually very smart by Jim. Because he knows that NesTea has to make units. NesTea has to worry about this potential warp in. So NesTea can't be too greedy. And then Jim is like, alright, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and go up to 3 bases. Now we do see the infestation pit go down. And I would like to tell you that I know what that means, but I don't know what it means. Could just be rushing up to Swarmos and then rally across the map, or even Swarmos Nidus in a bizarre way.
Swarmos would be interesting. These cannons are finally going to get cleaned up. Roachzinling's coming in to clean this up so we can move on to taking a 3-base approach. But he's still going to be a Zerg that's on 2 bases against a Protoss that's on 3 bases in the next minute, and his base will not be anywhere near completed.
I mean, he could just turtle up perhaps with Swarm Host as well. He's firing up another Queen.
There's the Swarm Host and a hallucinated Phoenix. He needs to make the plays.
Base is under attack.
Is he going to see the infestation pit? Jim?
Yes, he
We'll
sees it.
see the infestation pit, so that's going to help quite a bit. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Robotics Bay being wiped in and the second Robo immediately. Instead, Jim is going to fire up Blink. And I don't think that's the correct decision, because Blink Stalkers are really not going to cut it. Unless you just have an overwhelming amount that you can swing around the locust. But I think a second robotics facility and a Robo Bay would have been a better choice. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that he can take it. Trying to overpower a straight-up Swarm Host force with gateway units is difficult. And he's even getting an Immortal. Not very good versus Swarm Hosts. I mean, unless you can get on top of them, then they're great.
It's more than just difficult. It's borderline impossible. Unless you have so many units, you can just wipe in a lot in the main and then like dance back and forth with a group of Blink Stalkers and pick off a couple of these Swarm Hosts. I think that Jim, even though he saw the infestation pit, I don't think he put it together. Because so far his response is wrong to the Swarm Host. There's really no other way to it. And I have the feeling that Jim is putting himself in a lot of worse position than he was actually in. He still doesn't have a Robo Bay, Nate. There we go. Now we see the Robotics Bay being wiped in. But he could have already had a Colossus out on the map.
Yeah, this is tricky. This Mothership Core like runs into the Queen. It's like, hey.
He really wanted to get that Roach. He did get the Roach.
The Roach was worth, man.
He said this Roach ain't loyal.
Those roaches ain't loyal. More gateways going up for Jim. And he's got +2 attack coming in reasonably soon, but I still agree with you, Roddy. I mean, the only thing that's nice if you were to actually try to attack the Swarm Hosts is if you can get by 1 wave of Locust, there's not much else in the way of buffer. Like, there's some spines back at that 3rd base, or the natural, whatever you want to call it. However, if he can get by 1 wave of Locust, he actually could just kill all these, like, really fast, because there's nothing else here to defend them.
Fortunately enough for Jim, NesTea didn't really put on too much pressure with his Locust yet. He's going to be able to get a couple of Zealots over here, maybe a Stalker, even though Blink is ready. That's a little bit sloppy there by Jim. But NesTea didn't just like rally on unlimited amount of Swarmos across the map and started working on these gateways, on these cannons and whatever. And of course the only thing that Jim did have going for himself as well, Nate, is that he had a lot of force fields accessible, and force fields can be very, very good in dealing with Locusts, just zoning them out and stuff like that. However, eventually he did follow up the advice. He got a second robotics facility, he got a Robo Bay. However, now you need to scout again, Jim, because that Spire is already on the way. And as we know, NesTea loves switching into Mudalisk.
That's right.
Muta, as Zoka likes to call them.
He's got just about 800 gas saved up. These swarm hosts are continuing to attempt to be a nuisance, and you know, creep takes so long to go away. These queens can very easily come out and put some new tumors to replace it.
Without Stargates, I actually think this could be kind of tricky, but Jim is on the money. Without Stargates, Jim is like, what are you talking about, no Stargates? Let me warp into Stargates. Did he see the Spire, Nate, or is this just Jim's spider senses? These are just Jim's spider senses. It's awesome. Where is the Spire anyway?
Looks like it's right by the infestation pit. He did not see it, no.
This is one of those games where you have to ask yourself, like, hey, why am I surviving so easy? Why is there not more pressure on me? You had these Swarmos for a while. Nothing is really going on. It shouldn't be that easy. You're NesTea. You're still a very, very good Zerg player. I'm supposed to struggle to stay alive. Instead, you're just letting me push you back. You let me clear a creep. You must be doing something else. You must be switching into Munis, because that's the only thing that can catch me off guard after you force me to go double Robo.
Yep.
So just excellent game sense here by Jim. It's still going to be kind of difficult because it's 15 Mutalisk on the way. Jim, fire up them Phoenixes. He's supply block, Nate.
He wants to build Void Race queued up.
Oh, okay. So maybe we're giving him props here for something that's not correct. Mutalisk are fantastic against Void Ray Colossus. Oh boy.
Well, this is going to be awkward. There's like 15 Mutalisks on the map, 5 more about to come out too. So there's going to be 20 Mutas. I mean, the Swarm Host still shouldn't be able to accomplish much with double Colossus production, but you need Phoenix.
NesTea might be able to do this, Nate. Because Jim's army is really not going to be that fantastic. The only thing that Jim has going for himself is that he has 15 Stalkers with +2 and Blink, or +3 even, correct? Yeah, he has +3. And he has a Photon Overcharge, but I really thought that he was aware that he was asking himself the right questions, but apparently he was worried about Corruptors as a follow-up, and that's why he's getting a couple of Void Rays. War Prism is going to fly into the main base now, and it's going to spot all of these Mutalisks. I'm expecting him to cancel the Void Rays immediately and fire up Phoenixes. That's exactly what Jim does. But it could be a tiny bit too late already, Nate.
Yeah, this is still really difficult. He's starting to clear up the creep. But all these spine crawlers being put up with the Swarm Host support, I feel like there's not enough anti-air with no pylon to reinforce. How are you supposed to do this?
Oh, I don't like
run
this,
straight
though.
into his base. This is a bit too adventurous, I think. He would love to power down these Stargates, but he's already bled out a few of his Mutalisks, and there's plenty of cannons scattered around the bases of Jim.
If NesTea would have just used his 25 Mutalisk and a wave of Locusts to fight this army, I think he would have done very, very well for himself. Instead, he flies his Mutalisk over a bunch of cannons, then he idles above Stalkers. Eventually, we'll get two Phoenixes, but how much did he lose at home? How many of these Swarmers are still alive? 13. All the Spinecrawlers are getting closer as well.
He actually can just go back and kill Jim's army, I think. Yeah, Jim's starting to move his Stalkers out. He realizes, hey, this is really tricky because I don't have any... He doesn't have his Mothership Core anymore either.
Yep.
So without his Mothership Core, if the Mutalisks went back, all these Colossi are just exposed and alone.
Love all the additional bases that NesTea is taking as well around the map, and 16 more drones fired up for our legendary Zerg player. So he's feeling very confident over here, Nate. He's feeling confident he can survive with his Spines, with his Locust. There is few Zealots in the main, I guess still from the War Prism, otherwise I have no idea how they got up there.
I don't know how those got in. There are still a lot of Stalkers here trying to get additional pylons, and if you can keep these pylons up, then that's when things get really difficult. But the Locust waves are doing what they need to do. Oh, I'd like to see him just pull the Colossi to the left side and just kill all the drones from the low ground that are mining in that third
he
base.
wants to, oh, look at all those drones lined up. A couple of Colossus shots would have been the most juicy thing in history. Now these Mutalisks will just start fighting these Stalkers. I would have loved to see a Guardian Shield go down. Eventually the hatchery will fall, Nate, but now there are Corruptors in the mix as well. I'm still not sure if this is a fight that NesTea is winning. I think if Jim warps in like 7 more Stalkers, and there's a Phoenix helping out now a little bit as well, he's still doing okay. He could kill the Spire maybe.
He's killing a lot. A lot of drones are actually just dying now. Next wave of Locust comes out. Things get a bit more difficult.
Oh, look at all these Stalkers. If the Stalkers blink forward, do we have an observer? There is one observer I'm gonna click on it real soon because oh, there it is. It's right on top of these stalkers. Jim is doing some real work, Nate. The
Jim's
locusts
got it.
are about to spawn.
He did kill a couple of these Colossi. I thought he was going to be able to pick the Swarm Hulls up for the next wave, but yeah, that wave's been cleared.
Wow.
Zerglings are coming out now. Slow Zerglings trying to stop these Stalkers. I don't know, Kev. I don't think slow Zerglings are going to deal against Colossus.
Most likely not, Nate. These Colossus are doing some serious work. They got a lot of kills, 40 kills on one and 41 on the other. GG is called, and Invictus Gaming's Jim will win the first series of the day, so he is going to move on to the winners match where Ro32 is waiting for him. So we're going to have an Australian go up against the Chinese in WCS America. That is pretty beautiful, Nate. And the winners match of today, and oh my god, this has to be like the first time in history of
Both
WCS America.
Koreans lost in the first match.
That means we're going to have another foreigner guaranteed already in WCS America round of 16. That's 2 for 2 out of like 2 days.
I'm happy.
It took 8 groups last season, guys, and now in the second day we're already going to have our second.
This is our like non-Koreans rising part of a season of WCS America.
And there is a really good chance that there's even going to be 2 non-Koreans today. Of course, Alicia is still very strong and we can't underestimate him. He's going to go up against NesTea in the next series of the day. There were 2 things, Nate, on the last game I would like to talk about once more. Of course, we saw...
Talk to me.
Talk to me. Give it to me, girl. Of course, we saw the crazy cannon shenanigans and that phase in the game. I'd say that the way it played out, it's all about scouting, denying. Yeah, I think Jim could have got one more pylon down. Maybe he kills the other hatchery. But I don't really want to talk about that anymore. I think in the final moments of the game, sending all those mulas to the bottom side of the map, when Jim had a lot of his army actually defending at home and getting cannons, and NesTea didn't pay attention to his mulas, that was really painful because he basically had 24 mulas, but he flew across the map with like 16. And then a lot of them were like flew over cannons, and then they flew into stalkers. They were actually like on hold position, move, whatever. They weren't really fighting. So I think that was a very painful mistake. And then above all, when NesTea thought he was in the clear with his spines and with his locusts, he fired up 16 more drones.
Yeah.
If those drones would have been either like, you know, a few Corruptors, a few Mutalisks, I really think that we're looking at a different outcome of the final fight as well, because you saw how close it was. In the end, it was almost only Stalkers, and Stalkers alone can never push back Locust waves.
No, simply impossible. So, great job to Jim, who moves on to play against Igas. We're going to play the lower bracket match first, which means our next series will be NesTea against Alicia. Don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to take a short commercial break. You are watching WCS America.